Good morning, guys. Time for some more mock draft evaluations. Last video, we did a pretty good job covering a lot of the major NFL mock drafts out there. I think we did a pretty good job looking at what some of the professionals have to say, but there's more than can be fit into one video. So we're going to do some more today. And basically, you can kind of look at this as prep for tomorrow because at some point tomorrow, we're going to live stream a mock draft extravaganza where I play with all the different mock draft simulators out there. There are at least 5 that I know of, and there are probably a couple more. So I think that we can definitely get a pretty good stream going just talking about what we can get out of the mock drafts and see if we can come up with some scenarios we really, really like. So you can kind of look at this as homework. So we've got more mock drafts to sift through here. We're going to start with a Mel Kiper Jr. one, his most recent one, and this is Mel Kiper's life, right? So he has a job because of the NFL draft, basically. So very interested to see what he has to say. Now I only have his first round here because you have to pay to get access to his full draft content, which I'm not going to do. I'm not giving ESPN money when they put out garbage like DK Metcalf getting traded to Washington for a 3rd and 5th round pick. You don't deserve my money, sorry. But Bleacher Report was kind enough to post some of the draft that he put up. And as you can see, he has the Seahawks drafting Evan Neal, who is a guy I have not seen attached to the Seahawks very much in mock drafts. I think that generally speaking, the assumption is that he will be gone before the Seahawks pick. And if you take a look at the way this draft broke out, it was kind of interesting. Sauce went number 2 overall. Malik Willis went number 6 to Carolina. And Garrett Wilson went number 8 to Atlanta. So those two things, Willis and Garrett, really cleared the way for there to be a lot of appealing players left for the Seahawks at number 9. And if they come away from that scenario with Evan Neal, I wouldn't be crazy about it, but I would be pretty happy. Evan Neal, one way or the other, he should become a really great offensive lineman in the league. I think it'll probably be at right tackle, which makes me a little not crazy about it, but I think he'll be very good. So Evan Neal is Kiper's most recent pick for the Seahawks. This is kind of interesting because if you contrast it to what he had in his previous mock draft, this was from late March, he actually gave us Charles Cross, and that was passing up Sauce and Stingley Jr. So it seems to me like the NFL world is starting to go a little colder on Cross. I'm not seeing him in the top 10 as much. I'm not seeing him looked at as I'm still seeing him as a top 3 tackle for the most part, but I'm not seeing him in the same tier as a Quan Wu and Evan Neal the way that I thought he was. I'm seeing more and more football fans and people who do this draft stuff for a living saying that Cross is more of a second-tier guy. I personally don't see it that way yet, but I am intrigued by the fact that Cross's expected draft slot has dropped significantly in recent weeks. So this was Kiper's previous mock giving us Cross. Now, let's see. He doesn't even have Cross going in the top 10, period. Okay, let's look at another ESPN guy here. This is Todd McShay, another guy who does mock draft work for ESPN. I'm not going to look at the whole draft because, again, it's behind a paywall. He is actually also giving us Evan Neal, and he also has us passing up on Sauce Gardner. Now, I might like Sauce Gardner a little more than Evan Neal if I have the ability to choose between the two. But if we take Evan Neal, that tells me that our priorities as an organization are towards building the offensive line instead of obsessed with defense. Now, this offseason, when we don't have a quarterback, it's not a bad time to obsess yourself with defense. But at the same time, you do want to build that offensive line before the next good quarterback shows up. So yeah, I would be torn on that, right? I would be happy that we've gotten a guy who I think will eventually become an elite Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. But I am going to look at that and go, you could have gotten Sauce Gardner and probably turned him into rich man's Richard Sherman, as hard as that is to believe. And you passed him up to get a guy who's probably never going to be top 3 at his position, assuming his position ends up being right tackle, which is what I suspect. But I'm not in love with Evan Neal's ceiling, but Sauce Gardner's ceiling is somewhere close to Neptune. It's off the charts. So I don't know. This one's okay. I find it interesting that both the most recent mock drafts, or I think it's the most recent mock draft from McShay, he may have a new one, this one was early April, are giving us Evan Neal. For a long time, I assumed that Evan Neal had very little chance of being there, but it seems like you're starting to see some trends shift a little bit in the draft, and the people who are actually considered the top prospects are really starting to make themselves known. Like Thibodeau, unfortunately, it looks like he's a lock to go in the top 5 at this point. There was a time when it looked like he was falling out, but that time has passed. All right, let's take a look at sporting news. Vinny Lyer, let's see what he has. He did a full mock draft, I believe, all 7 rounds. So let's see what he's got for the Seahawks here. So he's giving us Malik Willis, number 9 overall. You guys know how I feel about that. I don't like it, but I couldn't get too upset about it because I do think he's going to be good. And at the end of the day, having the quarterback is a big deal. I don't think I would pass up Sauce Gardner for Malik Willis because he's just not a sure thing to me, and he's very much a work in progress. But if we got Malik Willis, I would definitely be wincing, but there would be some part of me that would be like, okay, if this works out, we are set for the next decade plus in all likelihood. And by the way, he actually also has us passing up Sauce, so kind of interesting, because it seems to me that Sauce is starting to identify himself as one of the top 5 guys in this draft, and there's no way he's there at number 9, but we're seeing all these mocks where he is. Okay, next up we have Kyler Gordon. I like Kyler. If you got him in the 2nd round, I would be like, that is good value. He is starting to be a borderline 1st round guy. So if you get him in the 2nd round, I'm for that. I think he would be a good fit for what we're trying to do on defense. I think he's got the versatility you need for a hybrid. I think he has some Pete Carroll type traits, not all of them, but some of them. And he's a good tackler. I would be fine with it. I wouldn't be super excited about it, but Kyler Gordon would be fine. Next pick he gives us Daxton Hill, which he seems to be doing it from the perspective of we need to move on from Jamal Adams. We're not moving on from Jamal Adams. That's not happening anytime soon. So Daxton Hill, granted, could be a good nickel corner, but I'm not spending a 2nd round pick on a nickel corner when I already signed Justin Coleman and Artie Burns and still have Blair and Amadi and da-da-da-da-da. So, no, I can't do this. I think that's a bad pick. Unless you know something about Jamal and you're going to cut him after June 1st or something. Then he gives us Sam Williams, and this makes real attempts to save this draft for me because I really liked Sam Williams. I talked about him with the Hawks Nest some on his show a couple weeks ago. He really likes Sam Williams. Very, very appealing edge prospect. I would love to get him in the 3rd round. That would be something that would really get me going. So big thumbs up here. He then in the 4th round has us getting Kellen Diesch, offensive lineman that I looked at a little bit. Little too Stone Forsythy for me to say we need to take him, but I do like him. I just don't like the idea of taking another like super tall left tackle prospect who's a crapshoot to actually make it in the NFL. We already have that. So not crazy about it, but I do like him. So on that level, I can get behind it. He also gives us Luke Godicki from Central Michigan. I don't know a ton about Luke Godicki, but taking a project tackle, I've already kind of sounded off on that. I'm a little sus on it. I think we already have our project tackles. But then he gives us Zion McCollum, and this guy's going all over the place right now, right? Like, this guy is making some picks that I really don't like, but then he's bailing himself out with a beautiful pick. If you get Zion McCollum in round 5, phenomenal value. I am dancing into the end zone with that pick in my hand. Zion McCollum has the measurables to be one of the best corners Carroll has ever coached if he can just get the good stuff out of him. I view him as a round 4 guy. You get him in round 5. Oh, yeah. Then you have our last pick is Bo Melton, wide receiver from Rutgers. I don't really know that much about Bo Melton. Not a whole lot to say there. It's fine. No big objection to it. So basically, he gives us our quarterback of the future. He gives us some secondary depth, which it just doesn't really do it for me. But then he bounces back with some very nice picks like Sam Williams and Zion. Okay, now we have, I believe, another 7-round. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is a 3-round mock draft. My bad. So this is a draft countdown. One of my favorite websites from back in the day. They've gone underneath they've gone under significant changes over the years, but I really liked a draft countdown back in the day. They give us Derek Stingley, so that's another mock draft, professional mock draft, giving us Derek Stingley, which I would be cool with that. They also give us Boy Mafe. Yes, please, absolutely, love Boy Mafe. Sam Howell in the second round. I think I'm okay with it, but I'm not in love with it either. I have very mixed thoughts on Sam Howell. If we got him, I would be able to see the upside, but I would also see the downside. And finally, in round 3, he gives us Jamari Seiler, a guard from Georgia, who I've seen linked to us a couple times now, and he's a guy I just didn't look at very much. As near as I can tell, he is an interesting player. He would be a left guard, which if we do move Damian Lewis back to right guard, we do have a imminent need, but I gotta tell you, I'm crying because of who he had us missing by 1 pick right above Troy Anderson. So I'm kind of having a hard time getting over that. Okay, now let's jump on over to CBS's mock draft. Alrighty here. So, what does CBS Sports say? They say Jordan Davis. This is a new one. This is an interesting one, right? So, I like Jordan Davis a lot. I do think that at the bare minimum, he's going to be a phenomenal nose tackle run stuffer. I think he's going to give you your nose tackle, your starting nose tackle for the next 10 plus years in all likelihood. However, my concern is that he may not ever be much more than that. And if you're going to spend a top 10 pick on that, I can't really dig it. To me, if you're going to get Jordan Davis, you got to at least trade down to like 16, maybe 18 or 20. And the Chargers may not let you get away with that, granted, but at that point, I can't be using a top 10 pick on a guy when I don't even know if he can get after the quarterback. He didn't really do it at Georgia. He didn't. All right, so I like the player. I would be intrigued, but I would ultimately be pretty let down if we used our top 10 pick on him. Okay, so then he gives us Matt Corral. Already spoken about him. Don't hate him, but can't really get enthusiastic about him either because he just seems so limited to me. Then he gives us Troy Anderson. Now, it's a second rounder, which I would hope you could get him in the third, but if you got him in the second, I would still be cool with it because I really, really like him. I think if you got Troy Anderson and Jordan Brooks on the interior of your linebacker core for the next several years, you're feeling pretty phenomenal about where you are as an organization in that area. So, yes, please, Troy Anderson. I'll take him in the second. I'd love to get him in the third, but you might not be able to. Then he gives us Isaiah Spiller. Not a fan of this guy. Too slow. He runs with some power, but not enough. I don't mind taking a running back here if there's somebody that I really like say maybe a James Cook, maybe a guy like a Breece Hall slips down here. I doubt it. But Isaiah Spiller, I'm just not really feeling it. Fourth round, he gives us Cade Mays, offensive lineman from Tennessee. Don't know a lot about Cade Mays, but it seems like he's got some versatility. That's about all I know about him. And if he does, that's certainly valuable as a depth player. He then gives us Dominique Robinson, the edge from Miami. I did look at him a little bit. He seemed all right. I liked him well enough in the 5th round. I'm all for that. And then he gives us a really nice pick, Zach Tom, offensive lineman from Wake Forest, the capacity to back up every position on the offensive line in the 5th round. Yes, I'm absolutely going to say 2 thumbs up to that. All right, now we go down to round 7. The final pick of this mock is Emeka Emezi, wide receiver from North Carolina State. I don't know this player. Can't really speak to him. This mock draft was okay. The Jordan Davis reach kind of gets it off to a rough start. I can't really get into that. I'm not enthusiastic about Matt Corral, but he did do some other things that I was okay with. But on the whole, I think we can do better than this. I believe we can do better than this mock draft personally. Okay, Maurice Jones-Drew. This mock draft is insanity. This mock draft is it has 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10. So I don't know. I can't imagine any universe where that actually happens. He has 4 quarterbacks going from 6 to 10. So I don't know how seriously to take it, but he does have us getting Desmond Ridder. I like Ridder, but there's no way I'm taking him at number 9 and feeling good about it at all. Desmond Ridder, you got to at least trade into the bottom half of the 1st round for me to feel okay about that. And even then, I'm not fist pumping about it for sure. So not a big fan of that. And then we have this one from DraftWire. And they, in their mock, have us taking Derek Stingley Jr. Again, another Derek Stingley Jr. mock. And I've already said everything I can say about Derek Stingley Jr., but that is now like 6, maybe 7 mock drafts that have given us Derek Stingley Jr. So a lot of people are seeing the synergy. They're seeing the connection. They're seeing the value there. So it may very well happen. I would go for it. I would be cool with it. I would support that. And that's really all I got. There are other mock drafts out there that are worth taking a look at, of course. I'm not going to be completely comprehensive, but I'm satisfied with what I have managed to do here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. There may be another video later today, probably streaming on Twitch later tonight as well, and then tomorrow at some point, I'll figure out when, we're throwing a mock draft party. Hope to see you guys there. Hope to see you guys on Twitch later. Peace out, Go Hawks. Let me know what you guys think. Some interesting picks in this batch, but at the end of the day, if you're going by consensus, seems like Derek Stingley Jr. has become a little bit of the guy.